If you or someone you know has diabetes, you may have built up an extra supply of test strips and lancets. That's where we come in. We'll buy the supplies that you don't need and resell them to those in need to prevent waste. Help us make diabetes management more affordable. Visit us at teststripswithaz.com.
All right, we have Julia Avila back on the show. She returns to action April 11th. She's going to face Karol Rosa. The fight was originally scheduled to take place at October's UFC Singapore event. Karol was forced to withdraw with an injury. So here we are, giving it another go to kick off the second quarter of action in the Octagon in 2020. Julia, Happy New Year. How are you?
Happy New Year. I'm good. Or Feliz Año Nuevo.
Oh, there you go. I feel like we've had this conversation before, and we definitely did, but a lot has happened since we last spoke in early October. You actually did that interview from the treadmill. I went back and watched it earlier today. The fight ended up getting canceled about a week later. So when you found out Karol was injured, how did you react to that, especially since you'd been training very hard and the fight was just a couple weeks away?
Well, I found out she was injured, but I also found out that it was like a pre-existing injury. So, it's one of those things that it just flares up, and I want the best version of my opponent. So, luckily we get to reschedule it, and we get to meet in there. So I'm excited to really test myself against someone who's completely well rather than just like partially there. I don't want there to be any stipulation or like subclause of me beating them.
That makes a lot of sense. Did you end up watching the Singapore card? I know it started super early in the morning, but did you end up watching it?
No. No. I was asleep. Or working out. I don't remember.
Yeah, you're a machine in that aspect. So we found out the fight's now April 11th. It's a little over 3 months away. What we do know to this point is that it will air on ESPN Plus, and it will happen somewhere in the United States. Have you been given any indication where this event's going to happen?
I have no idea. I don't know where. I'd be okay with them pushing it back a week and me fighting on the Khabib vs. Ferguson card. I mean, that'd be awesome. But I'm just grateful to be on a card. So I don't know.
You just know you're fighting. You have a date and you have an opponent. That's the most important thing. You'll get to where you need to go.
And for my fans, they're really excited for it to be stateside because a lot of my friends here and a lot of my fans across the U.S. are willing to travel. So, it's a lot more manageable stateside rather than international. But there were a couple people that were going to show up to cheer for me, so that was kind of cool.
That's cool. And, I know you're always training and in the gym. You're staying active. You're adding things to your strength and conditioning routine. We'll touch on that in a moment. But did I see on Instagram that you broke your nose? How did that happen?
Sparring. So I sparred a couple rounds the Sunday of my fight, which I would have been starting my cut, so I wouldn't have been sparring anyways. But I didn't have a fight, so I was sparring. I thought I broke my nose, but then I definitely knew I broke my nose on Monday when I sparred again.
Who was the culprit? Who was the nose breaker?
Oh gosh, I spar with so many different people, I don't even know. It might have been me, really.
It might have been. Oh my gosh. Everything's good now, though?
Yeah, everything's great. I didn't even, it's not even offset or anything. It's straight in line, so I don't even get a cool bump.
Did you want the cool bump? Is that a battle scar you hope to acquire someday?
I mean, I don't have any, deformations or cauliflower ear or anything. People look at me and they're like, "You're a fighter?" Yeah, I'm a fighter. I don't know, maybe one day, a cool scar or something.
There you go. We've seen sort of the importance of strength and conditioning in this sport and a lot of other sports too. We've even seen it in professional golf over the last decade, and the science behind it, the movements, some of the exercises that have been introduced. It's evolved so drastically. And I did see on Instagram that you've added some new things to your routine, including the always dreadful and yet effective front squats. I believe your quote was, "I think I'm in love, but I also think I'm in hate when it comes to the front squats." How much of a difference has adding these different elements to your routine made for you in keeping you sharp?
So I've always been strength training. I just think it's super important, and I really like lifting heavy stuff. Being strong makes you harder to kill, in every aspect of your life. For women, it fights osteoporosis, so bone degradation. So I love strength training, and it's not really new to mean. It's just I'm kind of maxing at my back squat without adding too much muscle. So my husband decided to kind of flip my routine and start reintroducing front squats and maybe some more explosive, sexy movements like the power clean or the snatch. So these are things that I've done in the past and I really enjoy doing, but I don't know, we might mix it up a little bit.
You don't really take your foot off the gas when it comes to your training. The fight is still 3 months away, about 12 to 13 weeks as we chat right now. When do you go from the training, the let's sharpen things up mentality to full-on fight camp mode? Like, how does that transition go? Do you even have to change very much?
No, I don't really change very much. The only thing I really change is I'm a little bit more strict on my my dieting. I mean, I'm kind of a bigger girl anyway, so getting down to size is just a little bit more strenuous. But yeah, I mean, like, I run 10 miles this weekend, and I'll still lift, I'll still, train and everything, and nothing ever really changes up for me. It's just more so my eating and drinking.
Besides the drinking, is there anything that you have to cut out that you just dread cutting out in fight preparation, dietary wise?
No, I mean, I eat pretty much everything that I want to eat, like in and out of camp. It's just, I really enjoy like a glass of wine or maybe a bottle or two. No, yeah, that's the only thing I really cut out, and it's not even that big of an issue.
After your outstanding Octagon debut and heading into the fight that was supposed to happen in October, you were quite a bit giddy about getting back in there. You were amped. You were, quote, ready to show the raging side of the Panda inside of the Octagon. So by the time you ladies get in the cage and fight, it's going to be a little over 9 months since you last competed. Are you going to be somewhat unleashed on April 11th? Will you feel like the Panda is getting released into the wild and a Panda's got to eat?
Yeah. And she has my food. So I'm going to come after her. No, yeah, I'm really excited to really just like go in there, go for a knockout, go for a submission, go for a dominant, like definitive victory, not just a decision. I used to think that if it went to the decision, you kind of already lost the fight. Now I'm human, I've grown, I've had more fights since then. So I do think it's a little different now, but I still kind of have that in the back of my mind, like I didn't win because it went to decision. So I really want something that's a little bit more definitive, really to leave my mark on the UFC and start that journey towards top 10.
I find that so interesting because I've talked to some fighters that feel the same way as you do, that a finish sort of signifies it and amps up the victory even more. And then on the other side of the equation, I remember, I'll never forget this conversation I had with Jimmy Rivera after he beat Uriah Faber, and he felt the same way, and he talked to his coach, and his coach told him, he's like, dude, it's anyone can go in there and knock somebody out in 30 seconds, but when you go in there and you dominate a guy, you win all 3 rounds, you win every second of the fight, it's almost demoralizing to your opponent, and it means a little bit more. Have you learned that along the way as well? Do you at least appreciate getting the decision wins in that aspect?
So I do appreciate it, and that's why I've said, like, I've had, with more experience in the ring, I've learned that having a dominant victory is, it's a lot better. It's a little bit more gratifying because, I do get to showcase my skill. But I don't know, there's just something so gratifying of like hearing that bone break or, like feeling the face crunch. But I mean, that might just be me.
It is, it's a new year. We're still writing 2019 instead of 2020. I'll be doing that for the next 2 or 3 months or so. And, I know you don't want to look past April 11th, but, what are the goals, the things you want to accomplish in your career this year? Like anything to the effect of 2020 will be a success for me if I do blank.
I mean, fight more than once in the UFC would be nice. Definitely fight more than once and break in the top 10. I would love to have a belt challenge by the end of the year, but I have to beat the right people, and if I get those right opportunities, that would be great. But yeah.
By the way, were you able to get some vacation time in with your husband? I know you had to push a couple trips back. Were you able to at least do some traveling in the downtime?
We visited some family over the break, but he was just recently deployed. Oh,
no.
Sorry. Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, so did get to spend some time with him, but no good vacations, not until he gets back.
How hard is that for you? With all, I mean, obviously it's got to be very hard, but I know he's a big part of your fight career as well. How difficult is him being away?
It's really hard. It's our first deployment together, so support your troops. And luckily he will be back for my fight, so that's gonna be nice.
And listen, something that keeps that brings me up when I'm feeling down is I watch your Instagram video with you coming home to the dogs. That is amazing.
Yeah, they're my buddies. They keep me going.
For sure. I appreciate it, Julia. I didn't mean to make you cry or anything like that.
Oh,
but,
no, it's fine. Yeah, it's part of the job, and he protects our country, so I'm super proud of him. It's really hard for me because he's going to be gone throughout the hardest part of my fight camp, and then he's going to come home to a really hot wife.
There you go. See? Finding the silver lining in everything. And we look forward to seeing that all take place. April 11th, you take on Karol Rosa on ESPN+. It's going to be springtime. The flowers will be in full bloom. The weather's going to be nicer, and the fists are going to fly somewhere in the United States. Julia, always a pleasure. Before we let you go, let the folks know where they can find and follow you on the web, social media, any shout-outs, anything else you want to get off your chest. The floor is yours.
So first and foremost, I thank God and support your troops. And okay. You follow me on all social media platforms at Raging Panda MMA, and send me some good vibes and keep me and my husband in your prayers. And April 11th, we're gonna throw it down. USA.
Thank you, Julia. Again, Happy New Year. All the best to you in preparation for the fight and in the fight on April 11th. And a big shout out to your husband. Big thank you to him for keeping us all safe.
All right. Thank you.